Kakadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Batra Daf Yomi, Daf Kuf Mem Amud Aleph 148.1 says the Gemara. 140. It says over here like this. We were talking about Elam Rava Barada Rava says Motzin lahem mezonot labanot shivgiru v'ashal labanim. So we said, if you remember, that the kavanah was that if they only have very, very small amount of properties, so therefore we're going to make sure that the girls get their food until they become bogrot, and all the rest will go to the boys, but the girls always get first grabs, right? So he says, pshita, because we're talking about food, right? We're not talking about inheritances. Says the Gemara, pshita, it's obvious, nitrabu, right? Merubim v'nitmatu, fazachu b'an yorshin. Yeah? He comes and he says, if right now, right, there was a lot of properties and then became little amount of properties, so he says the Yorshim were already zocheh. What happens if they had a small amount of properties and all of a sudden now multiplied? Do we say that it's considered that it's already in the reshut of the Yorshim? Okay, and therefore, since it was in the reshut of Yorshim, right? So therefore, listen, at the end of the day, hilkach reshut Yorshim shebuach or dilma, and therefore he says maybe be'emet salukim misal Yorshim yacha. Right? Maybe they're already out of there. Meaning, right, that the banim are not going to be zochim because it's not nechasim rubim. Meaning that what happens now, right? At the time, it was very little property. All of a sudden, it became much more. So now, but it was already in the hands of the Yorshim. So since at the beginning, when the father passed away, there was not a lot of property. The girls got it in order to have parnasah. But all of a sudden now, bla'inara became a lot. So now what happens? So now do you say that the boys take their share in their inheritance, because at the end of the day, now it's nechasim rubim? Or do you say that they don't take a share in their inheritance because it was nechasim muatim at the beginning, and therefore the girls take as much as they need for the parnasah, and then we'll see what happens with it at the end. So Tashema, we're going to try to bring a proof. What happens if the boys, they were trigger happy? Trigger happy. Trigger happy means that they love the trigger. So sometimes you know that they're always, everyone's aiming, right? And all of a sudden, there's always a guy that's trigger happy. So he pulls the trigger too soon before they tell him to shoot. That's called trigger happy. He's very, very happy to shoot. Okay? Anxious. So what happens, I know a lot of people like that. Buldiner. Yeah, there's a lot of people. They're very, very, they don't calm down. They're always, yeah. So what happens is that they came and they sold the properties when there was only nechasim muatim. Now we said the orphans. Now the boys. Now we said that the boys, if there's nechasim muatim, do they get anything? Wallo, because they have to make sure that the girls get. So now the question is, what's going to happen in this case? They came, they jumped the gun. That's the term. They jumped the gun and they sold the properties. The boys, when it was nechasim muatim, when it's a small amount of properties, mashe machru. Whatever they sold. That means they gained. They sold it. Yes, the girls are nothing now. Yeah. So says the Gemara, Yativ Rabbi Yirmiyah Kamed Rabbi Avu. So he asked the question on Minato Masechet Ma'et Nechasim. Haim the Almana is going to come and minimize the Nechasim. Mi Amrina do we say Kivandila Mizona Mimata? Sorry. Since you have Mizonot, it's going to be Mimayet or Dilma, or maybe Kivandila Minasfa Letle Hashtadami Letle. Maybe now you're not going to have it. Okay. So says the Gemara, or maybe we're going to say, if she would get married, she gets wallo, she gets nada. So the same thing here also, she gets nothing, right? Even beforehand. So he says over here, if you're going to tell me, that if she gets married, she doesn't get any mizonot, so too now she shouldn't get it. What about the batishto? Right? Do we say, well, she also could get married and then she doesn't get anything? So Odilmar, maybe we say, maybe if she would die also, she doesn't get anything. And she's not going to be Mayet. If you're going to tell me that if she dies, she doesn't get anything. Even if he dies, it goes to his children. Right? And therefore it is going to be Mayet. Odilmar, maybe you didn't collect it, it's nothing, it's not Mayet. Some people ask the other way around. Balchov, Maut Shemayet Benechasim, Balchov. Is he Ma'et in the Nechasim? Kuf Memo Bet. Batishto Maut Shemayet Benechasim, or Almanato Maut Shemayet Benechasim. Okay? Let me just explain. So now says the Gemara, Almenoto bat ezemen kodemet. This is another question now. Who comes first? The almana or the daughter?
Daughter of the almana?
Yes, but it's his own daughter. Meaning the guy comes and he dies. His daughter, right? Almenato ubat. Who comes first? So Amalei, Zil ha'inna, he comes and he says, go now. V'tal machat, come back tomorrow. Yeah? He comes and he says, Ki ata. He comes and he says, Sherefuah shelema Roneh Michael bar Shalomo. Yeah? Yeah? So he comes and he says like this. He says, Zil ha'inna, go now and come back tomorrow. Yeah? Fine. You heard. You didn't hear. Okay. Ki ata. So when he came, Elmaleh, he said, Peshot miyadchada. I want to actually bring you a proof. The Amar Rabbi Abba Rabbi Asi, he says, Rabbi Yad Rabbi Asi, Atsu almana etzel habat ki bat etzel achin nechasim muatin. Do you know that they made the almana by the bat, like the bat by the achin? Meaning the almana to the daughter is like the daughter to the brothers. Ma bat etzel achin, just like the daughter with the brothers. The bat is on it, and then the achin go on petachim. So to almana etzel habat, almana is on it, the abat ishal al ptachim. No, the opposite. That means you're going to send the daughter to ask for parnasa, right? And the almana, his almana comes first. Yeah? His bat. Now, the reason why is they say the entire concept why the almana is going to be before the girls is because they took it out kilo of a Yerusha. He says here that there's an almana in girls only, since the zechut of the girls is midin Torah, so they cannot take it out for the almana. So he says here, according to this, when it says almana etzel bat, we're talking about that the bat is tovat mizunot mitakanat chachamim, not that she's inheriting. That means there's boys, basically. Okay? Fine. Now, he says over here, Admon Omer. Admon comes and he said, if you remember in the Mishnah, what? Because I'm a boy, I'm going to lose out? Bishir shani zachar ifsati? So it says the Gemara, Michael, what is he talking about then? So Abaye comes and he says, Hachi kama, this is what he means to say. Bishir shani zachar v'ra'ui ani lasot b'torah ifsati? Because I'm a male and I can learn Torah, so I lost out? Why am I losing out? Why is it that the girls, they have their parnasa, they have everything? And I'm a boy, so I have to start going and asking for tzedakah. What does that mean? So Amaleh Rava says, only somebody that learns Torah, he gets Yerusha, and if he doesn't learn Torah, he doesn't get Yerusha. And Amar Rava, but rather Rava says, how can this woman say? Because I'm a male, and I'm fitting to be Oresh Nechasim Rubim, right? If Sadti Benechasim Muatim, I'm going to lose out on Nechasim Muatim. What's going on? Right? So because of that, that's what he's trying to say. He's trying to say is that now you do the Torah or not the Torah. Since he's a male and he's fitting to inherit in Nechasim Rubim, now he's going to lose out on Nechasim Rubim. Why? Right? But that was just a shita of Admon. Fine. Mishnah on Kuf Mem Amud Bet. 140b. Of course. 100%. Okay? Iniach banim ubanot v'tumtum. Right? Bizman shenechasim rubim. What happens if he left boys, girls, and the tumtum? Now remember, tumtum, you don't know what it is, because it's covered over. The genital, everything's covered over, so you don't know if it's a male or a female. It's covered. Until today, there are that, by the way. Yeah? So therefore, yes, of course. So, said the Mishnah, Bizman shanechasim rubim, so if there's going to be a lot of nechasim, hazecharim dochim etzel nekevot, right? The zecharim are going to push the tumtum with the nekevot. Yeah? Why? They're going to tell him, you're probably a female. So go to the nekevot. Nechasim muatim, if they're going to be small amount of properties, the nekevot, the girls, are going to push him by the zecharim and say, no, you're a boy. Get out of here. Meaning that since he's a tumtum, he's in no man's land. So everyone's just going to push them to the other one. Okay? Haomer, if somebody's going to say, Yalda ishti zachari tol maneh, imagine a person comes and he says, you know what, if my wife is going to have a boy, he takes 100 zuz. Yalda zachari tol maneh, he has a boy, he takes 100 zuz. Nekeva, right? If he says a nekeva, she's going to get 200 zuz. Yalda nekeva, no 200 zuz. Im zachar maneh v'im nekeva 200. Yalda zachar nekeva. Each one takes 100 and 200 accordingly. What happens now if she takes a tumtum? If she gave birth, but it was a tumtum, eno notel, he doesn't take anything. right? No, nothing. Nada. Why? What is he? You don't know. Imamar kol masheteled, anything that his wife gives birth, right? He comes and he says that. So then ishti yitol, hare ze yitol, he's going to take ve'im en sham yoresh elahu, yoresh et hakol. Now, if it's going to be yoresh elahu, so he's going to be yoresh everything. Yes, because basically, what if he says kol masheteled ishti yitol, so he's going to take. Now, what happens now if the father dies and there's nobody else? So the tumtum takes everything, obviously. The tumtum at the end of the day is a child. The only thing is, what is it? Is it a boy or a girl? But for sure, it's a child. So for sure, the tumtum is going to take something. So if the father dies and there's nobody else to inherit, the tumtum takes everything. He's a child. What is he? I don't care. But if he was a boy, he inherits as a boy. If it's a girl, it's a girl. But anyway, there's nobody else. So he takes everything. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara. Dochinoto, we just said that the males, they push him to the females. Shakil kebat, and then he should take like a daughter. Haktani seifa. But then you said Yalda tumtum and unotel. He doesn't take anything. So what's going on? Samar Abaye says Dochinoto ve'elno. Says no, they push him to the girls, but he doesn't get anything. Right? Rava says no. Dochinoto v'yeshlo. The seifa is going according to Rashbag, to Rabbi Gamliel. He holds that a tumtum is a bidya bifnei atzmo. It's not a safek whether it's a zachar or nekeva. It's like a special species. Meaning, we think, what is it? Is this tumtum a boy or is it a girl? But it's one or the other. But we just don't know what it is, but it's covered over. Says Rashbag, it's a different species. It's like a species on its own. It's not a boy and it's not a girl. What is it? Something else. I don't know what you would call it. It's another class. Right? The gender, it's male, female, and I don't know what. Tumtum, exactly. Not unspecified or prefer not to answer. It's pashut, tumtum. It's a new species. The Tanam, we learned to the Mishnah, Yalda tumtum vadroginos. Right? Check up on the English. What does it translate as androginos? Here it just says somebody that has both. Okay, but it doesn't say there's an English word for it. I forgot the English word. Yeah? Rashbag omer en kiddusha chal alein. What does that mean? Kiddusha is not going to be chal on them because it's only not as a char and not a nekeva. Because it's a completely separate sect. Yeah? What is he called? Okay. So says the Gemara Meitve, so we're going to ask the following question: Tumtum yoresh keben when he's on kebat. A tumtum is going to be yoresh like a boy, and he's going to get like a girl. Bishlama means he gets mizrot like a girl. Bishlama Rava, I understand Rava yoresh keben v'nechasim muatim v'nizon kebat v'nechasim rubin. I understand according to him because basically, right? We just said that according to Rava that he's going to say that if it's going to be merubim, the boys push him off to the girl. So then it means yoresh keben. Right? Which means that he's going to be Yoresh like a Ben, like Nechasim Muatin, and then he doesn't get anything. Right? But the boys don't get anything in Nechasim Muatin. Yes, that's Tumtum. And Nizon Kebat, Nechasim Rubin. Right? Nechasim Rubin. Ela, but rather, according to Abaye, what does it mean now when he's going to say, right? My Nizon Kebat. So says the Gemara, according to you, according to Rava, what does it mean Yoresh Keben? He's not being Yoresh at all. Ela Ra'ui Lidash. He's fitting to be Yoresh like a Ben. But he doesn't get anything. So to here, he's going to be fitting to be Yoresh like a bat. Ra'ui lizon ve'enlo, but he does not get.